because it's the election cycle and it's winding down. And in less than a month, we're going to find out. And then in a couple more months, there will be an inauguration. Now, that's what they've always done, with very few changes to that or variations. So then we'll get to the middle of the winter, 2017, and a new administration will come in for their proverbial 100 first days. And Donald Trump has already given us a description of what he would like to do in his first 100 days. Now, I'm hoping that Donald Trump will get in there. And before you jump up in arms and have your knee-jerk reaction, why do I say this? It's not because I get along with Donald Trump on all of the possible points, everything you can possibly debate in the American system, the American society. It's not because of that. It's because I've prioritized what I'm looking for. I'm a 50-year-old man. I put out more videos than anybody else on YouTube, whether you know it or not. Just take a look. I've got over 36 network channels. So I'm pretty active at expressing myself to the world. And you might also say, hey, if he likes Donald Trump, he gets along with everything that Donald Trump is standing for. Everything about Donald Trump is perfect in this guy's eyes. You could also say, oh, he believes in everything that YouTube does. Everything is perfect in his eyes about YouTube.com, GooTube, the corporate commercialized monster. No, that would be ludicrous. I just have to use it to my best advantage to do what I'm doing. And what I'm doing, it's not really what YouTube is promoting. What I'm doing, is that what Donald Trump is promoting? Yes, to a certain extent. Let me tell you what my priorities are. I want to see change. And the only way to get change, to start something new, is to first face the fact that what's old about the system, the establishment part of it, has to go. We first have to accept that. We have to be aware of it. Now, if you're still on the same page with me with regard to that principle, we can talk a little bit further. Why Donald Trump? What will Donald Trump be? Well, he's already done a whole lot as part of the campaigning. He has brought out the main point that I tried to bring out in my little way as an independent producer 10 years ago. I had the mindset before 10 years, but we only have a voice and can express it through YouTube or other venues, websites, platforms, to reach out to the world since that 10 years ago period. 15 years ago or 20 years ago, we didn't have that. I could reach out and get a few dozen people, a few hundred people. It's very hard. Now, the government knows all that, and that's why you're seeing what's going on with all this campaigning. They're trying to control information. They're trying to use the media to the advantage of the establishment. They want the mainstream media to take everybody's eyeballs and put it where they need it to be. But that's impossible now. The eyeballs are not going to go where the mainstream media wants them to go. They're going to wander. Some of you might even find my videos, which are being suppressed. I'm totally suppressed. On my main channels, I got over 10,000 subscribers. Where I used to get 10,000 views at a pop, now I get 10 views. you can't tell me there's not suppression going on. But for those of you that are lucky enough to somehow find it, and you're still very diligent, and I appreciate that. I thank my lucky stars that I still get anything, that I'm still allowed the crumbs to fall onto my plate. The mainstream media is in a panic. They're a little concerned, but they don't want to show it. That's their arrogance. Sometimes they're asking good questions, but when it boils down to it, you can see that they don't really support Trump. You can see it in their faces, just like the face of Hillary Clinton with her fake smile. You ever see that when a question comes up and she knows how she's going to handle it, how she's going to pivot away from the issue and, spin it to something else. She's going to change the subject because she already knows. They know where they're weak. They know where they've been exposed. They know that. And you can see it in her face when she makes that fake smile. She just makes this big beaming smile, like, and it's just like frozen. And the smile is the fakest thing that I have ever seen. Nixon was a great man. His face was more honest than Hillary Clinton's face. It's a dishonest, phony, in panic. Her and the mainstream media and all the people. Let me tell you who's running the show and why I have to support Trump, because he's either going to do the things he's saying he's going to do, or he's been deceiving all of us, and he's going to turn it right back around to the powers that be, those that are in control, instead of doing what he says he's going to do. But I happen to use my intuition. My gut feeling is that he's for real on a lot of his points, on his attack. His attack is going to continue, and more power to him. But these people who are running things, let me tell you who they are. They're the neocons, neoconservatives. They have the money. They want to control the military. They want to control the federal government. And they've done this scheme successfully because once their hands were on the levers of power, it's very hard for anyone else to get in there and do something different. They're all working in collusion, and yes, it is a conspiracy, because it has to be. There's nothing wrong with a conspiracy, though. You hear, just don't take away from this to, he believes in conspiracies. He's one of those nutball theorists. No. Follow through with both sides of what I'm saying. Okay, go ahead. The other half of what I'm saying, the more complete part, I'm saying things have to operate according to a conspiracy. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. It's the reality of the way things work. Conspiracy. You conspire together. Conspire is like inspire, inspiration. It's like respiration. You have to breathe. You breathe in, and you breathe out. Respiration, inspiration, conspiration, conspiracy, conspire, conspire. The meaning of it, the definition, and the connotation, we need to come to terms with. Merely the sense of it, a group of people that get together to make arrangements, to organize, to plan something. That's the only way that things get done. There's no such thing as democracy from the bottom. You know, they want to talk about these things, but that's not the way the world operates. Just like any of the influences on the world that you look, there's always a central figure. There's an individual that makes things happen, and there's a group around them. That's the figurehead, or that is the leader, and they're a tight-knit group that are all on the same page. They're in on the plan. That's the conspiracy. That's the only way things have gotten done, and that's the only way it's ever going to be. Basically, the masses don't have a plan amongst themselves without a leader. They basically take things for what they are. They take it for granted, and they live that way. Things don't change unless there's a conspiracy, unless there's a group that is very aware of what they're doing. So the neocons have done this for a very long time. You'd have to trace it back to what they came from. They morphed out of something else. They originally were more of a Republican Party venture. But they had arrangements with the Democratic. And this goes back to the time of Kennedy. There's so many historical things that I could bring up right now, but I mean, it's just going to get deeper. How deep does the rabbit hole go, as they say? What happened with Kennedy? Kennedy, no, he wasn't perfect either, just like Trump is not perfect. Reagan wasn't perfect. Even FDR, the godfather of all of them, he wasn't perfect. But talk about Kennedy. Before the 1960s came about, you had Kennedy debating with Nixon, remember? This was after the Eisenhower days. We like Ike. And Kennedy was not even supported by Eleanor Roosevelt, the widow of FDR. She was supporting, who was it? Aldi Stevenson, the second. She wanted Stevenson. She wouldn't support Kennedy. There's a beef with them that had gone on for a long time. The Kennedy clan was not in the favor of the FDR legacy. They were not. They were frowned upon. But Kennedy did win. How was that? How did all that happen? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The roots of the neocons go all the way back to then, and they go even farther. They're reaching back farther to the days of World War II and FDR, the conservatives. So they're not something totally new, but where do you start to discuss their rise to power? When did it actually materialize? You'd have to say it's all around Granddaddy Bush. It's all around George Herbert Walker Bush, the son of that other Bush, the Bush that was in with the Nazis, the Third Reich, the one that was in all the German pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, that Bush. So with the first Bush, Bush Sr., George Bush Sr., you got someone who comes out of the CIA. He's the head of the CIA, one of the founders. However, he got started in there. So it's branched out and morphed from the OSS. It was a Navy type of thing, but they came together with a number of factions, and they came together with influence from the Nazis. This is the conservative movement, the shadow conservative within the Republican Party. But, like I said, you got to trace this up through the Kennedy years, and you see how they were in collusion with, you ready for this? Lyndon B. Johnson. Johnson knew what was going on. They had to factor him in. He took the bait. I don't know if he was in the original planning stages. Probably not the very, very beginning, but he got in on it. And there's no way that everything could have happened, that coup d'etat, without Johnson being in cooperation and full approval. So, look at some of the footage of Nixon talking about Johnson. Look at the footage of Ford. Ford is a great guy because he keeps his mouth shut. Gerald Ford. So the neocons can trace back to that, but you've got to see the connections that they have with NATO, the British, the Israeli regime, the so-called Israelis who want to harken back to the days of the ancient Israelites. They're not the same. They're related to a lot of them, and they're like the Jezebels, those kings, King Ahab. They cannot trace themselves to King David. Sorry to say. And, you know, without study ancient history, ancient politics, that's in Chronicles and Kings and so on and so forth. I long for the days of King Solomon, but those are gone, and they weren't easy. But we need to put someone in power. Trump, I have prioritized. He is accomplishing some of the main things that first need to be brought to the table. Some of the things that are initial for the transformation of the government and the nation. And if he doesn't get in there, well, it doesn't matter either way. He's already brought it out. If he gets in there, he can do some things. In fact, to be honest with you, it's even better if he loses, because the people will not give up. They've already been awakened and they want something to happen. So it'll be easier to start on the basis of his loss. So, that's interesting. That's a little twist that I give you at the end. I am so happy that he did what he did, Mr. Trump and the Trump operation, the Republican Party, but I hope they lose, because then there's much more work to do. 2017 will be the beginning of a new political party, and I'm going to refer you to this video if I leave this video up. This will be a intro, a background for the new party. I'm not telling you what it's called. I've made a channel on here that was called the One Party, but that's just a phrase. That's a slogan. It's the One Party. I think we need a more formal, official name. And so that's very exciting. It's exciting news. Thank you for watching. Is Mommy here? You don't think so?